Yes, my shit right here. Welcome back to another episode of Road to William. Today's video, we're doing the movie review the movie review called On the Run. Now, let me know in the comments if you've seen this film. Where did I see it? Tubi. I've been on my Tubi kick. And so they got new movies, old movies. This was in 2024, which was good to know because it was like you could tell that it was made for today's time. They had the updated technology and all that. But I'm gonna do my best. There's gonna be spoilers probably, but like I said, every review I do on stuff, like I don't never give you a full thing. Like you still gotta go and do your own thing. If you want to watch this film, I recommend it. I'm gonna just tell you off rip. When I was looking for a movie to watch, I was like, I don't want to feel sad, like distraught, right? But I think you can't avoid that. Not with this film. Not with this film. It had action in it. If you're into action films, something that's like kind of constantly up, keeping you engaged. I am one of those people who let me know in the comments if you're one of those people where like I pause a lot of stuff. Cause I'll be sometimes I'm like, wait, let me give you something to drink. Because also and whether I'm reviewing the film or not, cause y'all know I love movies. I'll watch a movie and you know how many movies I watch and I haven't done a review on? Cause I just love the movies. But and I'll tell you why I chose to put this one out there. But I stop a lot. I'm like, wait, let me get something to drink. Wait, do I gotta use the bathroom? And it was so good that it was like, no, you have to pause. You have to pause if you're about to go do something because there's you know how there's certain parts of films where it's like you have to see it. Like for example, Wicked. Here's a little background story that happened like 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks? 3 weeks ago? A few weeks ago. Whatever. So me and my lady, we're going to see Wicked, but we were rushing. We ended up like where we were late, but then we weren't too late, but it was like late enough to be like, and she had already seen it, so it was kind of like, no, we're gonna have to reschedule it. So we saw it last week, fire film. The house is still packed. I want y'all to know. I'm like, how are you talking about this film? But I want y'all to know, um, the house is still packed. When did Wicked come out? Weeks ago, a month ago, dude, at this point. And it's still like a packed house. And though that was a movie where it's kind of like, and I even told my cousin Ashley, shout out to my cousin Ashley, go check out her channel, I Be Ballin' Basketball Show on YouTube. She knows all sports. She's the sports guru, especially of basketball. So yeah, she does all that. Anyway, she was like, yeah, you can't miss any part of Wicked. And this is one of those films where it's like you can't miss any parts of it either because there's parts where it'll show you like say a picture. There was like certain things you had to look at in order to connect dots. Um, which is good because in a movie you do want to kind of like just escape your reality and kind of just dive into someone else's world and thought and like what's going on. So this was made this year. So let's go over these characters. That's what I like to start. Is okay, so the main characters you need to know that I wrote down. There's Kayla, who's the oldest sister. There's the little sister, and her name is Paige. Then there's Vince and Rick. I'll explain who those are. They actually are the main ones who starts it off, even though they're not, I don't think they're both in the photo or not, but I don't know how I'm gonna put this together. But so it starts off in the beginning of the movie. Vince and Rick. Vince is like the head honcho of this motorcycle gang, and Rick is that's like his best friend, basically. They're best friends, and but they're two different types of. Vince is the head honcho, and he walks around as such, and he's very like you could be confident in yourself, but then there's times where that person who's overly confident can like be comfortable. I think what makes You could be like, what is overly confident? Being comfortable. Because in this film, it showed you that you can't be comfortable with how things, like on one hand, so let me give you a background. Vince and Rick had stole something from another bicycle gang, and they didn't know what they stole, but they know they stole something. They get to their turf, and they figure out that they stole some drugs from the other people. They thought maybe it was some money, some cash. They was like, no, this is a bag of drugs. This is different. This ain't just money. Like money is important too. Right, right, right. But drugs is going to help them make that. So they're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So Rick is kind of on the defense, like, yo, I don't know if we should like keep this. We should take it back because somebody's going to come back for this. It didn't matter if it was money or drugs, but this movie did a good job of showing you like the principle of things. Like the film could have easily been about cash, money. Everybody wants it, right? But the drugs was different, and drugs can have a hold on you. And Vince was kind of like, whatever, like this is ours. So what? Who cares? He was on that overly confident person in this film. He had a lady named Beth, and they have a daughter at home. And you find this out because Rick is like saying to Vince, hey, Beth shouldn't be here. She should be at home with y'all newborn and whatnot. And Beth's chill. She gives like that free spirited a little bit. Um, and Vince is kind of still in control, like, no, we're fine. Like, nobody's gonna be dumb enough to come on our turf. But y'all were dumb enough to go on their turf and you stole something. So they just did the same thing y'all did, but instead of something you can easily get again, they took something where you can't get back. It's not gonna just hurt your pockets, but it's gonna hurt your heart. And Beth ended up passing away because it was a shootout. She got hit in the mix. And Rick was telling Vince, like, yo, she shouldn't be here. And so like Beth died in Rick's arms because Vince was out there shooting at everybody. Aim in this film, how you hold a gun, they showed you like kind of like proper ways, the importance of guns, the use or whatever, right? The important use of it, right? So Vince goes to prison, killing those guys in front of the turf. And Rick, they fast forward 15 years later. Vince is getting out of prison, but no one knows this. He's getting out on good behavior. That's what he tells another guy at his the turf that the shootout happened. What is their gang? I forgot their gang on. It was based in California. Vince is trying to figure out who put him in prison in the first place. He's like, who even snitched? Like, you know what I mean? He's kind of on his revenge game. And he still has a chip on his shoulder. They took his baseball and coon rod, right? Rick is now raising his daughters, which you're kind of confused about. And I like this film, and I'm going to give you the spoiler for it, just in case you're like, no, I'm good. Or maybe like, no, I don't care. Or I already watched it. Yeah, let me see what you're talking about. They fast forward, Rick's outside with Kayla, who the whole time I thought Kayla was Vince's daughter. The way they were like shielding her, but she was kind of like the first child. It was like that first child syndrome kind of. She is 15 and she's at this rebellious age, but she kind of pinpoints another version of a rebel, right? Different degree of it, different direction. And turns out her father is actually Vince. And you find that's out throughout the film. But I don't know about y'all, but for me, I was like, are they both his daughters? Like, dang, you are. But no, Paige is actually his daughter, and he's actually like looking for her because he wants them to be a family again. He's sick, and he's trying to get his daughter back. This whole movie showed me that no one really knew how to communicate. I mean, Rick tried his best to kind of like talk to Vince, but when you're talking to somebody who's like the head of everything, it's like, who is he? He feels like he doesn't need to listen to anyone. A rebellious direction because she wanted to be free from her parents. And it's crazy. You got to be careful what you speak into existence because she had said in the film she wished she didn't have any parents. And the power of your words, the power of your intent, your action. Maybe she didn't intend it for real, but she wanted to hurt them. How she's been feeling hurt. She felt like she was always overlooked in the family, which that kind of gives like the middle child syndrome. But once you find out that's not really their daughter, it makes sense. But the thing is, even though that wasn't even though Rick wasn't her biological father, he was her father. Like he was her father she was supposed to have. And um, Rick didn't have to take in Paige. He could have put her in the foster care system. If he really didn't care, he could have been like, I don't, you gonna come looking for her? I don't do it. But the kind of guy Rick is, he was just like, no, like you're my family, right? Regardless of what you and our father did, because he did take the blame. Like, no, we both made mistakes. Um, but Rick and his wife, hey, Lori, it's kind of like a lesson for like parents too and kids. It's a lesson for everybody, but I think for parents, it kind of shows like how much do you tell your kids about stuff, at what cost? Because they didn't page everything, they just it cost them their lives because they weren't communicating with their kids. It was funny because it was like he did his best to try and communicate to Vince to be like, we shouldn't do this. Beth shouldn't be here, but he never talked to who you would think Rick would need to talk to and keep close is Paige. He kept her close, but he wasn't talking to her, and that's not helpful because that's kind of like just saying, "Oh, I want you around, but if I told you the truth, you might run away." Yeah, Rick and Lori end up passing from Vince because he found them and was like, "No, I'm getting my daughter back. You took everything away from me." So Vince is parading around town like I'm the bitch in this motherfucker. Like whatever I say go. He done scared the police people out of where to find them because they were under WITSEC. They were under WITSEC protection. And it was really that small town vibe that kind of told on them. It wasn't WITSEC because Steph, who's the detective, represented kind of like the protection. Women, they don't in life, in these movies, people don't look at women as the protection. And even though her role was small and she didn't have as many lines, her role was important because she showed strength, she showed fearlessness. When you thought they taken her out, she just got right back up. She was resilient, and she showed like we're gonna keep fighting back, um, regardless of the historical white man in charge, in control. And I don't know her ethnicity, but she wasn't white. Okay. And that I feel like kind of showed even more importance to it. Haley was Paige's girlfriend, and they were going to go on the run together. They wanted to get emancipated. Like Paige tried to go about it as best as she could. She tried to talk to her parents. They weren't trying to hear it. Although the mom, Lori, was trying to like hear her out. Like, no, I get you, but they know the truth of why they can't just let her leave. Because Paige and Haley wanted to go to New York and be free. And she just didn't understand why she couldn't leave. But then, when things happen in your face, it's kind of like in Menace to Society. If it's in your face, you're probably gonna take it more seriously. Like Paige said she didn't want any parents, but then when she realized, oh, her mom is gone, and now her father, she's like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I meant. I was just angry. And her father, Vince, her, I guess, biological father, were like total opposites. Like, yeah, Paige was rebelling, and Vince was rebelling too, but he needed her compassion. She needed the truth. Oh, then we talk about Cole. He's the third rebel in this film because he represents the continuation of what Vince started. And not just like for this film, but in history too. Cole showed like he was like that cowboy, boy next door, and that's how he presented himself, right? But he also showed kind of rebellious side because if he wasn't showing that side, I don't think Paige would even look as well. Oh, I said Paige and Haley were like together, but maybe they weren't together, but maybe I feel like they gave her like she didn't really have a label. Like maybe she liked girls, boys, people. She just gave like, look, if she's attracted to you or not. That's how she felt. That's what it gave to me. Y'all can let me know in the comments if you know, but there's a word for that, and I'm blanking, and I really am. But it starts with a P. I forgot. I forgot. Forgot. Tell me in the comments if you know. If you know in the comments, I'll get you a Road to William shirt. They like, bro, what? I don't know if I'm gonna keep that one in there. No, I'm just kidding. Cole represented like the rebellious side. You know, he was showing off his body. You know, he had his big old cowboy hat on, the rescue guy. You know, but he gave like the wild, wild west still a little bit, the rebellious, and that's what attracted to Paige. Because what attracted her to Haley a little bit was more like rebellion too, but it was like, look, we want to be free. They didn't feel free, and you know, Cole showed a little of that confidence, but like that overly confidence, like Vince had. Because at one point before Rick passes on, because they had to dip because Lori got by Vince, so they had to dip out. And it was interesting that Paige kept bringing up in the film, like when her mom passed, she was like, I don't want to leave her because they had to literally go on the run. That's why they're on the run because they're trying to hide from Vince because he's trying to kill them all. Rick says to her, like, I know, but we got to go. Same thing happens when Rick passes on and Paige is saying, I don't want to leave dad. And Kayla is like, we got to go. They're on the run. Now it's just sisters on the run, whether they're biological or not. Who cares? Even when they found out they weren't sisters, they still claimed each other as sisters, and that was dope. But it was that when Paige said something like, I don't want to leave them, and they're talking about the body. Oh, God, where I heard this, but it was something I heard the other day. It was like, the body. Oh, yeah. Yesterday I was reading something. I'm like, bro, what? But basically what I read was like, before you technically pass on, your spirit is already left. And so I feel like that was important to kind of like, they didn't really say it, but it was a good spark question to be like, yo, you don't want them to, you don't want to leave them because that's who you see them as. But if you think about it more in a spiritual sense of now, oh, it said something too like the spirit can't stay in something that no longer can house them. And so, like, once that body is gone, the spirit still lives. And so I think that was an important moment to try and connect her to the spirit realm of, okay, the people that you've seen every day, like, how do you keep going? Like, I think about a few people. I think about a lot of people who passed on in my life. I think about my cousin, my little cousin who passed on, and how even though he's gone, I feel like he's still around me. You know what I mean? If I'm going through something crazy or I find something funny, I'm like, he would probably say something like this. You can almost hear them say it. That's why I think it's interesting and important to like, and I can't say this for everything, but I think for me, because he was like my brother, and because we grew up together, even though we were a few ages apart, three, but we was about like 3 years apart, but we were tight like glue. We always kicked it together when I would go, yeah, y'all know I grew up an only child. And so my cousins are like family to me. My cousin Ashley from Ivy Ballin, like that's like my sister, you know. We grew up together. And so like I just think, what do y'all do? Let me know. But I feel that's what happens when I think about people who passed on. I think about what they say but a lot of times life will, if you just keep living, if you just keep going outside you will see them. And not in the physical way you've seen them before, but you will they'll be able to communicate with you if you are open to seeing those signs. It could literally be like my stepmom had passed a few years ago, and her name, I'm not gonna say it, I ain't gonna know it, but popped up on this like old school car. My lady pointed out, like, she's here with us, and uh, I see the car she drove. I keep seeing that car, like the same color, the same model, and everything. And I know it's hard to like think about people because you want them here physically the same way. But I just find it interesting in life when you just keep living. You don't even have to be thinking about them, and they will pop up. So I just feel like I don't know who that was for. Maybe it was for me, maybe it was from somebody watching, but just remember to just keep living. Live for the ones who aren't physically here, but they're spiritually here for sure, for sure. But that's what I took from Paige kept saying that throughout the film. The detective, I didn't have any hope in the detective. I'm gonna keep it a buck because in movies, and this wasn't like a horror. It was it was drama, action, a little bit of thriller. Because at moments you're like, whoa. I didn't have, in these films, we don't, anytime a sheriff is involved, detective, you're like, they're gone first. It's either the black person first or it's the sheriff. Like, we don't know who it's going to be. Pick your choice. And so I didn't have any faith in Steph, but she stuck around. I was like, oh, she was like, I'm sorry, I should have been there. Like, this is a good film. Kayla was the one who ended up taking out Vince. And I like that she was the one that did it because Paige had an opportunity. She was face to face with her father, and her father even told her, like, you do it. You take me out because um, I'd rather you than cancer. That's what he said. She was about to do it. Like you could tell she was about to pull. But her sister was in another position too, where she could kill him. She could take him out too. And so it's like to justify it, even when somebody's tempting you to do something. She's already messed up psychologically. She's already messed up psychologically. And it's like, even though he's like in his own way, he's trying to be like, no, you honor me because you're my daughter. It was still messed up for him to ask because it's like, you want the easy way taken out. You want to be taking the easy way out when you should be able to deal with it. But he felt like he was in prison enough and he had to deal with all this stuff. So he was like, I can't have my daughter in my life either. So yeah, take me out instead of this. But Kayla ended up doing it, and I liked it because she kind of showed like big sister. She was the big sister because she was a few years old when I think maybe she was 5 years old or something when all that happened. But she decided to do it because one, she was trained. Her father Rick that was like the beginning of the film. He was training her how to shoot. And I'm like, this is gonna come in handy. I just know it. I just know it. And he was preparing her, but he wasn't preparing Paige. And he had times to like that moment where he saw the badges from the old motorcycle gang on Paige's guitar set. Oh yeah, that's important too. She loves music, and even her mom, Lori, was like, "You should go to music school and this and that." Like, and Paige does say she ends up going, but in that moment, Rick and Paige could have had a conversation, and they could have probably avoided this whole thing if they would have sat down and talked. So this whole movie was about not being able to communicate. Vince could have communicated from the jump because when he was starting to shoot at Kayla, uh, Paige had found him and was like, she had a gun too, and she was like, "Look, don't." She was like, because they were having this conversation about like family and whatnot, and Paige had told Vince, "You don't shoot at your family. If you want to, talk to them, but you don't shoot your way out of conversations. That's not how you do it." That's the whole thing that got her mother passed on Beth because he didn't communicate, he didn't want to talk, he didn't want to. He thought shooting was going to solve all the problems. And I think if Vince would have just came through it with the family on some like, he shouldn't have found him in the first place, but if their paths were to connect, like to just sit down and talk. Because he did want to have a conversation with his daughter, Paige, but the way he did it, he made Cole kidnapper. And I was just like, bro, what is going on? But Cole represented that like new generation of what's been started from Vince. The same patriarchal bullshit, the same you got to know how to treat a woman in order to game her, and what's her weakness and all that other stuff. And so, yeah, good film. If you want some action, it's still good enough. I didn't tell you everything. And even if I did, you'd still have to watch it because it wouldn't make sense anyhow. But let me know. Okay, so would I buy this film? Would I not? Or would I return it? I would buy it. And I'll tell you why. Though I almost didn't do this film, but I'd be hesitant to do films that have essay in it because of a few reasons. It's one traumatizing to watch it on film, hear it, even if it's implied. I don't like it. Never have. I'll mention it in this video, but there's movies I probably won't want to watch ever again because not that I it's just because it was so traumatizing that I remember the film. And maybe I could rewatch it and learn new stuff, but it's like so like Prison Song, can't watch that. The Three Strikes One, I forgot what it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It had everybody and it had like Mary J. Blige, the Brad, everybody. The girl from Family Matters was in it. I was like, no, I can't watch this. Oh, Civil Brand. Couldn't watch. Can't watch. That was one of the most traumatizing movies I've seen. Woman Thou Art Loose, can't watch that no more. I like there's films like you're not gonna get it from me. Sorry, I can't watch those. I don't even like it in like The Shy had a snippet of it in one season. I think it was like season 4. I was like, that was probably the worst season I ever experienced because it was like a drag on and it was a show. Like, oh, yeah. So there was times in this film where I thought something was about to happen, but it didn't. And so I was like appreciative of it. So that's probably why it'll be on my shelf because it didn't have anything too traumatizing, but it is violent. So I don't know if I'll keep it. I don't know. Buy it on DVD for me. I don't know. I don't know. I think I might return it. I'm gonna keep it a buck. It's stressing me out thinking about certain things. Definitely recommend it, but am I buying it? Put it on my shelf? Probably not. I thought about it, but I was like, but if it's on Tubi and want to watch it again on Tubi, fine. That's all I have, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. If you've seen this film, let me know in the comments. If you haven't, what film do you want to see in the future? What do you want me to review? Let me know.